Prologue, the echo of the soul. Have you ever stood in silence beneath a star-filled night sky, feeling a deep, invisible connection to the cosmos, and wondered if there is a sacred order orchestrating the events of your life? Have you ever sensed that your encounters, your challenges, and even your moments of sudden joy are not random, but are messages woven from an invisible thread of destiny? If these questions have ever reverberated in the quiet spaces of your soul, consider this an invitation into a sacred space where the mysterious veil of reality will be lifted not by some distant force, but by the very light within you. We live in a reflective universe. Imagine that the world you experience every day, the people you meet, the circumstances you face, the opportunities you seize or miss, is nothing less than a great cosmic mirror. It is a living, honest, and utterly non-judgmental mirror. It simply reflects back everything that exists within your inner world, the energy you radiate, the secret beliefs you hold, and the intentions, whether fleeting or fierce, that you constantly emit. Your outer reality is the tangible echo of your soul. In this cosmic dance, silence is not an option. We never have the choice to communicate or not communicate with the universe. This interaction is constant, happening at all times, in all places. From our first breath to our last, we are living transmitters, continuously sending signals into the vast field of energy. Our only choice is this: will we continue this dialogue unconsciously, allowing our fears and limiting beliefs to shape our destiny? Or will we awaken, take conscious control, and become the authors of that conversation? The key to transforming your life does not lie in waiting for something outside of you to change. The true transformative power lies in seizing control of this conversation with the universe. It lies in shifting from a passive receiver, swept along by the currents of circumstance, to a deliberate broadcaster, the maestro conducting the symphony of your own life. This is the secret of manifestation, a sacred and immutable law as real as gravity. It is built on two unshakable pillars: clarity plus trust. Clarity plus trust. Manifestation, when your intention becomes as crystal clear, free from the clouds of doubt or contradiction, that is clarity. And when you send that message out with absolute faith, a complete surrender to the process, knowing that the universe has heard you and is already orchestrating its response, that is trust. The union of these two elements creates a powerful magnetic force, an irresistible invitation that draws toward you the experiences, people, and circumstances that perfectly match what you have created from within. This book is more than a collection of knowledge. It is a guiding map, a key to awaken the dormant magician within you. It is a journey of healing designed to help you release the old beliefs that have clouded your mirror and to begin a new dialogue with the universe. A dialogue guided by love, wisdom, and an unshakable belief in your own infinite creative power. Take a deep breath. Listen for the whisper of the universe. The greatest conversation of your life is about to begin. Chapter 1, The Symphony of Life, where vibration is the only language. There are afternoons when the setting sun drapes its golden silk over the ancient rooftops that I often sit quietly by the window, a dried leaf resting in my hand. I trace its delicate veins and wonder what once made this leaf so green and full of life, and what now makes it so still, ready to return to the earth. Perhaps just like a human life, the leaf has completed its own symphony, a piece of music composed of the vibrations of the wind, the sunlight, and the sap that once flowed ceaselessly within it. I remember a time in my life when my own inner symphony was a chaotic mess of sounds. I yearned for peace, but my heart beat to a rhythm of anxiety. I longed for abundance, but my mind constantly played the song of lack. I tried to use my willpower to force the outside world to change, like a talentless conductor waving his baton in a desperate, futile attempt to command a disobedient orchestra. But then I realized the orchestra was not at fault. The fault was mine for not understanding its language. The universe does not speak in words. It communicates through frequencies, through vibrations. And only when we learn to listen and attune ourselves to that grand symphony do we truly find the power to create our own reality. In a valley hidden behind towering mountains there lived a luthier named Elian. The lyres and lutes he crafted were all technically flawless. The wood was carefully selected, every curve was meticulously carved, and each string was tuned with the utmost precision. Musicians from faraway lands would seek him out, admiring his craftsmanship only to leave in silence. For Elian's instruments, though beautiful, lacked the one thing that mattered most, a soul. The sound they produced, while clear, was flat and void of emotion, unable to touch the listener's heart. Elian fell into despair. He spent sleepless nights trying to find the flaw in his technique. He used his physical strength trying to bend the wood to his will, believing that absolute control would yield the perfect sound. But the more he struggled, the more silent his instruments became. His tension and frustration seemed to seep into the very grain of the wood, turning it into a lifeless object. The energy of resistance had manifested a reality of resistance. One day, as he sat by a stream staring blankly at the flowing water, he heard the sound of a lyre in the distance. The melody was simple, yet it possessed an extraordinary power to move him. It wasn't perfect, it sometimes missed a beat, but it was alive, brimming with emotion. At times it was as mournful as the wind sighing through the mountain pass, at others as joyful as sunlight dancing on the water. Elian followed the music and found an old blind woman sitting under an ancient tree holding a worn and faded lyre. "My lady," he asked in amazement, "how can you create such a magical sound from such an old instrument?" The old woman smiled, her unseeing eyes seeming to look right into his soul. "Young man," she said, "I don't create the sound. I listen to the song the wood wishes to sing. I feel its vibration, the vibration of the forest, and the vibration of my own heart, and I allow them to become one. You cannot force the wood to sing. You can only become its friend, its companion, and invite it to share its voice." Her words struck Elian like a bolt of lightning. He finally understood. For so long he had treated the wood as a static object, something to be conquered. He had used the language of force, while the universe only responds to the language of harmonious vibration. Returning to his workshop, Elian no longer rushed his work. He picked up a piece of maple, closed his eyes, and for the first time he truly felt it. He felt the life that had once flowed through it, the years it had stood against storms, the warmth of the sun that had nourished it. He stopped thinking about turning it into an instrument. Instead, he allowed the feelings of appreciation, gratitude, and his own inner peace to flow from his heart, through his hands, and into the wood. He worked in a state of flow of unity. Weeks later, the new lute was finished. It didn't look much different from the others, but when Elian's fingers brushed against the strings, an unprecedented sound emerged. It was deep, warm, and full of life. It told the story of the forest of the artisan, and it touched a profound place in the soul of all who heard it. Elian didn't attract a better instrument. He became the frequency of a master, and the instrument was simply a reflection of who he was. Elian's story reveals a foundational truth. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you are. The world you experience is not a random collection of objects and events. It is a vast vibrational symphony, and you are both a musician and a part of the orchestra. Every thought you think, every emotion you feel, is a note sent out into the universe. Vibration is the only language. Emotion is the amplifier. The universe doesn't understand hollow affirmations or lifeless pleas. It responds only to the frequency of your being. Your thoughts may be the initial intention, but it is the emotion attached to those thoughts that carries the energy that amplifies your signal. Elian's frustration was a frequency, and it attracted a silent, resistant reality. His peace and gratitude were another more powerful frequency, and it created a masterpiece that could sing. Mastering your vibration is a conscious practice. Changing your frequency is not an overnight miracle. It is a discipline of the heart and mind. Awareness. Use your emotions as a compass. When you feel heavy, anxious, or angry, recognize that you are broadcasting a low frequency. Don't judge it, just become aware of it. Calibration. Just as Elian chose to feel peace instead of frustration, you can consciously choose thoughts and activities that raise your frequency. Take a walk in nature, listen to uplifting music, and, most importantly, practice gratitude. Consistency. Your dominant frequency, the state you maintain most of the time, is what creates your reality, not a few fleeting efforts. Protection. Your energy is your most precious asset. Be mindful of the people you meet, the information you consume, and the environments you inhabit. Choose to be around that which nourishes and uplifts your frequency. The story of Lady Isadora in her gray castle also proves this point. She yearned for friendship and warmth, yet fear and loneliness were the dominant frequencies she broadcasted daily. Her cold, empty castle was a perfect reflection of her barren inner garden. She wanted fragrant flowers but kept planting thorny seeds. It was only when she learned to light the fire of warmth from within through small acts of kindness to her servants, by smiling at the morning sun, by finding beauty in the silence, that others began to feel that warmth and were drawn to her. She did not seek warmth, she became warmth. And finally, this brings us to the most beautiful paradox of creation, the paradox of surrender. When a lion crafted his most magnificent lute, he was not obsessed with the final outcome. After pouring his entire heart and his harmonious emotions into his work, he let go of control. He trusted that the wood and his soul understood one another. This surrender is not an act of giving up. It is the ultimate act of faith. It is sending a clear, powerful signal, intention plus emotion, and then stepping back to allow a greater intelligence, the wisdom of the universe, to arrange the details. When you try to control the how and the when, you introduce resistance into the equation. When you trust, you open a space for unforeseeable miracles. Your reality is a mirror. It does not reflect what you want. It reflects who you are. Therefore, do not try to change the reflection in the mirror. Change the one who stands before it. Become the frequency of that which you desire. Your practice, the vibrational compass. Each day, take a few moments to practice calibrating your frequency. This isn't a complex exercise, but a simple returning to yourself. Stop and listen. At any point in your day, just pause. Take a deep breath. Close your eyes and ask yourself, what is my inner melody right now? What am I feeling? Name the emotion without judgment: anxiety, peace, joy, sadness. Choose a new frequency. Regardless of your current emotion, know that you have a choice. Now consciously call to mind a memory or an image that makes you feel grateful, loving, or joyful. It could be the smile of a loved one, the beauty of a flower, or the warmth of the sun on your skin. Attune, immerse yourself in that positive emotion for at least 17 seconds. Let it fill your chest and radiate throughout your body. Truly feel the vibration of gratitude, of love. Let it become your state of being, even if just for a moment. This simple practice is how you pick up your conductor's baton and begin to create harmonious melodies in the symphony of your life. You are learning to speak the language of the universe. Chapter 2. Intention, the guiding map for your energy. Have you ever stood in a forest on a foggy day, feeling the cool, damp air, but unable to see the path ahead? Our emotional energy, when it lacks direction, is just like that fog, vast, potent, yet aimless. It holds immense potential, but it cannot carry us to a specific destination. Gratitude, love, peace, these are high-frequency vibrations, our precious fuel. But fuel, no matter how abundant, needs a vehicle and a map to begin a purposeful journey. That map is intention. When I first began to understand the law of vibration, I worked diligently to maintain a positive emotional state. I meditated in peace. I wrote in my gratitude journal. I tried to radiate love. I felt better, but my life still felt adrift. I was like a ship with wind-filled sails, but no rudder carried wherever the emotional winds blew. It was only when I learned how to craft a clear intention, a declared command to the universe, that my ship truly began its voyage. Intention transformed the murky fog into an illuminated path. It turned a billowed sail into a chosen course. In the ancient library of a mountaintop monastery lived a young scribe named Silas. He was surrounded by thousands of scrolls, the collected wisdom of generations. Silas's soul was always brimming with desire. He hoped to one day write a masterpiece. He hoped to travel to faraway lands. He hoped to find the answers to great philosophical mysteries. His energy was like an unshielded lantern casting a weak light in all directions, but fully illuminating nothing. Each day he dutifully copied old texts, but his mind would wander. He dreamt of exploring distant shores while his hand transcribed an ancient set of laws. He thought of composing a love poem while reading a treatise on astronomy. The conflict between his aspirational inner world and his stagnant reality left Silas feeling increasingly stuck. He had the fuel desire, but he had no blueprint. One day, the head abbot gave Silas a special task to organize the archives of a great deceased explorer. As he unrolled the old time-stained parchments, Silas discovered something miraculous. Each map was more than just a drawing of lands traveled. At the top of every single one, the explorer had written a line in decisive ink before beginning his journey: "I choose to discover the Whispering River," or "My journey to find the Valley of the Rising Sun." These were not words of hope, not "I hope to find the river," or "I wish I could reach the valley." No, these were declarations. They were creative commands. The explorer wasn't asking the universe for directions. He was declaring his destination and trusting the path would appear. He had drawn the map in his mind before he ever took the first step. An awakening dawned on Silas. He realized that hope is a passive state. It places power outside of oneself in an uncertain future. But to choose is an act of creation. It claims power right here in the present moment. He returned to his cell and spread out a fresh blank scroll. Instead of writing his usual daydreams, he took his quill, dipped it in ink, and wrote with a steady hand, "I choose to be the chronicler of the forgotten stories of the mountain clans." In that moment, everything changed. His aimless lantern became a focused laser beam. His energy now had a target. When he read, he no longer browsed aimlessly. He searched for details related to the clans. When he spoke to pilgrims, he no longer listened distractedly. He actively inquired about old legends. The universe itself seemed to conspire to help him. The books he needed would seemingly fall into his hands. The very people who carried the stories he sought would suddenly find their way to the monastery. Silas's reality began to reorganize itself around the clarity of the intention he had set. He had given his energy a map, and the journey had begun. Your intention is the command you send to the universe. It is the blueprint upon which your emotional energy builds. A powerful intention is not a vague wish. It is deliberately crafted. The formula for a living intention: specific plus present tense plus emotion. Specific, "I choose to be the chronicler of the forgotten stories of the mountain clans," is far more powerful than "I want to be a writer." Present tense. State your intention as if it is already so. Instead of "I will find peace," declare "I am living in peace and tranquility." This shifts your vibration immediately. Emotion. This is the step that breathes life into the blueprint. When Silas wrote his intention, he felt the passion of a historian, the excitement of an explorer. Feel the fulfillment, joy, and gratitude of your intention already realized. However, there is a deeper layer that determines the true power of your intention. The why matters more than the what. In the bustling port city to the south, lived a merchant named Marcus. He had an incredibly clear and powerful intention. I am the wealthiest and most powerful merchant in this region. He worked tirelessly, his focus as sharp as a razor, but his why was rooted in a childhood fear of poverty and a need to prove himself to rivals who had once looked down on him. So while his intention was focused, it was shrouded in a frequency of lack and resistance. He made a great deal of money, but it always came at the cost of vicious competition, sleepless nights, and an ever-present feeling of emptiness. He attracted wealth, but it was packaged with the stress, betrayal, and insecurity that matched his frequency. The universe had responded perfectly to the vibration he was broadcasting, a never-ending battle to get. One day a great storm sank his most valuable fleet of ships, pushing him to the brink of ruin. In his despair, Marcus wandered into a small pottery studio to take shelter from the rain. He saw an old woman at her wheel, her hands moving gently over the clay, her face a mask of absolute serenity. Marcus asked bitterly, "What's your intention, to sell more pots than everyone else?" The woman smiled. "No, my intention is to pour love and peace into every vessel so that whoever owns it will feel tranquility in their home. The abundance that comes to me is just a sweet echo of that intention." Her answer broke and remade Marcus. He realized his intention was a bottomless pit built on a foundation of fear. He went home and rewrote his intention not on paper, but in his heart. I choose to build a sustainable flow of prosperity by bringing value and trust to everyone I serve. I enjoy the joy and abundance that comes from this contribution. The what prosperity was still there, but the why had completely transformed from fear to service, from lack to value. From there, the real magic began. He learned to set the destination but release the path. He held firm to his vision of a prosperous, value-driven business, but he no longer tried to control every deal or second-guess every partner. He trusted that with a pure why, the universe would bring him the best paths, people and opportunities, ones he couldn't have even imagined. His business not only recovered, but thrived beyond measure, and this time it was built on a foundation of joy and peace. Your intention is not a stone tablet carved once and forgotten. It is a living entity that must be nurtured. Return to it, often refining it, to ensure it still resonates with who you are today. Anchor it in your reality, a note on your desk, an image in your mind, a symbolic object, letting it be a quiet, constant reminder of the person you are choosing to be. Take up the pen and ink of your mind. Today, what map will you choose to draw for your life? Your practice. The intention crafting ritual. Set aside some quiet time and space where you will not be disturbed. This is a sacred ritual between you and the universe. Find stillness. Breathe slowly and deeply. Let the burdens of the day melt away. Return to the quiet center within you. Discover your why. Think of something you desire: health, a relationship, a career, a creative project. Now ask a level deeper, why do I truly want this? What is the core feeling I am seeking behind it? For example, behind the desire for more money might be the core feeling of freedom, security, or the ability to give. Keep digging until you touch a why born of love, joy, growth, or contribution, not fear or ego. Craft your creative command. Take a beautiful piece of paper and write down your intention. Begin with the phrase, I choose, or I am in the process of. Write it in the present tense, make it specific, positive, and anchor it to the inspiring why you just uncovered. Breathe life into it with emotion. After writing it, close your eyes. Read your intention aloud or silently. Now live in it. Imagine it is already true. How do you feel? Let the feeling of fulfillment, freedom, joy, or peace soak into every cell of your body. Stay with that feeling for at least a full minute. Release and trust. Fold the piece of paper. You can place it somewhere special or even burn it as a symbol of release to the universe. This act signifies, I have set the destination, I have sent the signal, I now trust the greater intelligence to arrange the path. Let go of your attachment to how it will happen. Your work is done. Now live each day in that state of trust. Chapter 3. Belief, the soil, where the seeds of reality are sown. Imagine you are standing on a high hill holding a megaphone wanting to send a message to the valley below. Your vibration is the sound originating from your throat. Your intention is the content of the message. But it is the megaphone itself, its power, and its clarity that determines whether the message reaches its destination. That megaphone is your belief. You can have the highest vibrational frequency and the clearest intention, but if they are broadcasted through a megaphone of doubt, fear, or unworthiness, the signal sent to the universe will be garbled, weak, and distorted. It becomes a lost whisper in the grand symphony, lacking the power to move the notes of reality. On my own journey, I once crafted intentions that were as beautiful as jewels. I wrote them on paper, whispered them each morning, and tried to feel the joy of their fulfillment. But then another deeper, quieter voice always rose up from within. But can I really do it? Good things like that don't happen to me. That voice was the real broadcast station, and the universe with absolute precision always responded to that broadcast, not to the superficial affirmations on the surface. In a land of sheer cliffs lived a stonemason named Kyle, known for his talent and vision. He held a noble intention to build a stone bridge across the gorge of howling winds, connecting two villages that had been separated for generations. His intention was crystal clear. I choose to build the bridge of connection to bring two communities together. When he closed his eyes and pictured the finished bridge, his heart vibrated with pride and joy. His vibration and intention were both perfect. But deep in Kyle's subconscious lay another belief, a toxic seed planted by his master years ago. That master had tried and failed to build the bridge, and he had concluded, this gorge is cursed. It will swallow any great work. This belief, though Kyle was not conscious of it, became his operating program. He began the work with immense enthusiasm. But one disaster after another struck. The largest stones would mysteriously crack. Sturdy scaffolding would suddenly collapse. Skilled workers would fall inexplicably ill. Kyle's outer reality was perfectly mirroring his deepest belief that failure was inevitable. The bridge was being built with fear, not with stone. In despair, Kyle sat on the edge of the gorge looking at his unfinished work. An old woman from the other village, renowned for her wisdom, slowly walked over to him. She didn't look at the broken stones. She looked directly into Kyle's eyes and asked, "Young builder, do you think you are fighting the gorge, the wind, or the stone? No. You are only fighting an old story." She continued, her voice as deep and resonant as the earth itself. "You do not see the world as it is. You see it as you believe it to be. As long as you believe this gorge is cursed, it will give you all the evidence to prove it. Change the story you tell yourself, and you will change how this gorge responds to you." The old woman's words were a hammer that shattered an invisible wall in Kyle's mind. He realized he had been using the finest stones to build a monument to his master's failure instead of his own vision. He had made the Creator's greatest mistake, waiting for the outer evidence to change before choosing to believe. The law of the universe is the reverse. You must believe it to see it. Kyle halted all work. For 7 days he did not touch a single stone. Instead, at every sunrise, he went and sat at the gorge's edge. He didn't look at it as an enemy, but as a friend. He closed his eyes, and in his mind, he rewrote the source code of his reality. He challenged the old belief, who said this gorge is cursed. That's just a story. What is my truth? And he began to plant a new seed of belief, repeating it until it became true within him. I am guided. This land supports me. This bridge is already complete in my mind, and it is strong, safe, and beautiful. When Kyle returned to the work, he was a different man. His inner certainty radiated into everything. The workers felt it. The work flowed with a miraculous ease. The bridge was completed, not only standing firm against the howling winds, but becoming a symbol of the truth. Your outer world will always be a mirror of your most consistent and deeply held beliefs. Kyle's story teaches us that belief is the foundation. You cannot build a castle of abundance on a foundation of lack. Beliefs are upgradable programs. Many of our limiting beliefs, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy of love, making money is hard, are not inherent truths. They are merely software installed from past experiences, family, and society. The good news is you are the programmer. You have access to the source code, the ability to identify outdated programs, and the power to consciously rewrite them. The universe responds to inner certainty. The universe doesn't respond to what you say. It responds to what you believe to be true. You can affirm, I am wealthy 1,000 times, but if your core belief is, I'm afraid of not having enough, then the anxiety of lack is the signal being amplified. A conflict between intention and belief will always create conflicting results. This journey requires us to practice the most powerful thing of all, to live from the future, not for the future. Think of Alara, a young seamstress in a small village. She always felt invisible and unworthy of attention. Her intention was to find a soulmate, but her belief was, no one would ever want to be with someone as plain as me. This belief caused her to walk with a slump, to speak in a mumble, and to avoid eye contact, all actions that reinforced her invisibility. Then one day she received a strange piece of advice from a wise traveling merchant. Stop trying to become worthy. Start by believing you are worthy and act from that belief. Alara decided to try. She asked herself, what does an Alara who is cherished and loved believe? The answer came. She believes her presence is a gift. She believes her voice deserves to be heard. The next day, Alara began to live from those beliefs. When she walked into the market, she didn't look at the ground. She held her head high and smiled. When a customer spoke to her, she didn't mumble her reply. She shared her thoughts gently but clearly. She wasn't being fake. She was simply practicing a new version of herself, one built on a new set of beliefs. And the world began to respond. People noticed the shift in her energy. Her smile attracted other smiles. The confidence in her voice made people listen. She hadn't changed who she was. She had changed the filter through which she experienced the world, and the world experienced her. She became the embodiment of the belief that she was worthy, and so worthy, relationships naturally found their way to her. You are the architect of your own beliefs. Old beliefs are not stone walls. They are only ghosts. And the only way to dispel a ghost is to shine the light of awareness upon it. Your practice, becoming the architect of your beliefs. This exercise helps you dismantle old foundations and build a solid one for the reality you desire. Uncover the old blueprint. Choose one area of your life where you feel most stuck. Finances, relationships, health. Write down the answer to the question, what is the deepest belief that is holding me back here? Be honest. It often starts with, I'm not, people always, or life is. Cross-examine the old architect. Look at the limiting belief you just wrote. Ask it the following questions, as a lawyer would question a witness. Is this belief 100% objectively true, or is it just one perspective? Who taught me this? Did this belief make them happy and successful? What did this belief protect me from in the past, but what is it costing me now? Can I find even one piece of evidence in my life that proves this belief isn't always true? Draft the new blueprint. Cross out the old belief. Now write a new empowering belief to replace it. This belief should be what the successful future version of you believes. For example, making money is hard becomes money is energy, and it flows to me easily as I provide value. Live in the new construction for a day. This is the most critical step. For the next 24 hours, commit to living as if this new belief is your absolute truth. How would you think differently? How would you speak to others? What small decisions would you make? E.g., if you believe money flows easily, maybe you tip the server more generously instead of from a place of fear. Actively look for the smallest pieces of evidence throughout the day that support your new belief. By doing this, you are no longer a prisoner of your past. You are the architect of your future, intentionally laying each stone of belief to build the castle of your reality. Chapter 4. Clarity, the precise whisper to the universe. Have you ever tried to speak to someone across a crowded, noisy room? If you just mumble vaguely, your words will dissolve into the air, lost amidst 1,000 other sounds. But if you look directly at them, take a deep breath and speak a clear, precise sentence, your message will cut through the din and reach them. Communicating with the universe is much the same. The universe is always listening, but it responds to energetic precision. A vague desire like, "I want to be happy," is like a mumble in a crowd. The universe might send you a few warm sunbeams or a stranger's smile, fragments of happiness, but it cannot construct a complete masterpiece from an out-of-focus request. Clarity is the act of focusing your energy into a laser beam, cutting through the chaos to make an unmistakable mark. I once spent years sending out vague requests. Please give me more abundance. Please let me find my life's purpose. And the universe responded vaguely. I'd find a coin on the street or receive a compliment from a stranger, flickers of abundance and purpose. But it was only when I dared to face myself and formulate a specific, sharp request that my life took a truly momentous turn. In a small village nestled by a river lived a young gardener named Elena. Her heart was kind and her vibration was consistently pure. The request she sent to the universe each day was simple: I want to help people. And the universe responded. Because her request was so broad, opportunities to help came from everywhere and in every form. One day she would help a farmer mend a broken fence. The next she would climb a tree to rescue a lost kitten. Then she would spend an entire afternoon listening to a traveling merchant tell his tales of sorrow. Elena was always busy, always giving, but at the end of the day she felt exhausted and empty. Her true gift, a deep understanding of healing herbs, went unused. Her energy was scattered like a river without banks flowing everywhere, without creating a single powerful current. One day, an old traveling healer passed through the village. Seeing Elena's devotion tinged with fatigue, he said to her, "Your heart is a fertile garden, my child, but you ask the universe for just any kind of seed. Your request comes from kindness, but it lacks the wisdom of clarity. Be honest with yourself before you ask of the universe. Ask yourself this: if there were no limits, how do I truly desire to help?" The healer's question awakened Elena. She spent time alone in her garden, not to work, but to listen. She realized that her deepest yearning was not just to help people in general. Her core desire was to use my knowledge of herbs to soothe the spiritual wounds, the unspoken sorrows of the women in my village. It was a moment of truth. From a vague wish, she had distilled a crystal-clear declaration. Her new request, forged from radical self-honesty, carried an entirely different weight. Immediately, her reality began to shift. Women who carried sorrows they had never told a soul found themselves drawn to her garden as if by an invisible magnet. They didn't just come for common remedies, they came seeking a deeper healing. When Elena needed a rare herb, she would stumble upon it growing in an unexpected place. She was no longer exhausted because now every action she took was poured into a single powerful and purposeful stream. She had sent out a precise frequency, and the universe had responded with a precise result. Elena's story shows the power of asking with clarity. Requesting is not begging. It is a powerful act of declaring the reality you choose to create. The formula for a potent request: the what plus the why plus The feeling. An effective request is a complete energetic structure. The what. Specificity. This is your blueprint. Alina's request shifted from help people to use herbs to heal the spiritual wounds of women. The why value. This is the fuel for your request. Alina's why was to bring peace and strength to these women, expressing her core values of compassion and healing. A powerful why elevates the frequencies of the request. The feeling embodiment. This is your energetic signature. Feel the state of the end result. Alina felt the joy and fulfillment of seeing a woman find her smile again. The energy behind the request matters more than the request itself. Consider the story of Reese, a young soldier. His request was specific. I want to become captain of the guard. But his why was shallow to gain glory and power. He was asking from a place of ego and a need for validation. As a result, the harder he tried, the more things worked against him. The energy of desperate striving pushed his goal away. It was only when he changed his why to I choose to be a protector whom people can trust, and asked from a place of service that the path opened. A pure, powerful request need only be made once with total faith, not repeated out of anxiety. Inspired action is your commitment to the request. After Alina formed her clear request, she didn't just sit and wait for a miracle. She began to act. But it was not strained effort. It was inspired action. She felt an urge to walk deeper into the western woods, and there she found a rare plant. She felt a desire to rearrange her garden in a new way, and that arrangement created an unusually peaceful space that drew people in. Inspired action is your response to the universe, your physical declaration that says, I am ready. I am walking toward you. Requesting is not an act of weakness. It is the act of knowing your own power, knowing what you are worthy of, and formally declaring to the universe that you are ready to receive. You are not begging. You are co-creating. Your practice. The ritual of composing a letter to the universe. Grant yourself a sacred space and perform this ritual with the utmost reverence. This is a formal dialogue between you and the creative energy of the universe. Honesty on a blank page. Take a beautiful piece of paper and a pen that you love. Before you write, close your eyes, breathe deeply, and ask your heart the most important question. If money, time, the judgment of others, and all limitations did not exist, what do I truly, truly desire most? Allow the answer to surface naturally without judgment. Draft the energetic letter now. Write a letter to the universe or source God, or whatever name you feel connected to. This letter has 3 distinct parts. Opening. Declare the what. Begin formally. Dear beloved and abundant universe, I write this letter with an open heart and a clear intention. I hereby declare with clarity that I choose to create and experience. Describe your desire in the most specific and detailed way you can. Body. Clarify the why. Continue with the deep and core reason I desire this is because it allows me to express and live my highest values of freedom, creativity, love, peace, contribution. I believe that experiencing this will not only uplift me, but will also allow me to state the positive impact this desire will have on you and those around you. Closing. Embody the feeling. End the letter. I now open myself to receive and fully embody the feeling of joy, fulfillment, gratitude, serenity as this reality manifests. I have complete faith that this or something even better for the highest good of all is being perfectly arranged. And for this, I give thanks. Send it with surrender, sign your name to the letter, read it over one more time, feeling every word you've written, then perform a symbolic act of release. You can fold it and place it in a special box, bury it in a potted plant, or safely burn it and let the ashes blow away in the wind. This act signifies the message has been sent. I trust. I will now take inspired action and allow the magic to unfold. Your request is now a bright star in the energetic sky, a clear beacon showing the universe exactly where to send its blessings. Chapter 5. The Sacred Pause Where Faith Becomes Fact. Have you ever planted a seed in the earth? You prepare the soil, place the seed inside, cover it, and give it water, and then nothing happens. Day 1, day 2, day 3, the surface remains still. If you are an impatient gardener, you might begin to doubt. Is the seed any good? Did I do something wrong? You might be tempted to dig up the soil to check, and that very act would kill the sprout you are so eagerly awaiting. The wise gardener understands that this quiet interval is not emptiness. Beneath that still surface, a great miracle is taking place. The seed is cracking open, roots are pushing deep, and a sprout is striving upward through the darkness. The most critical growth always happens invisibly. The period between when you send out a clear request and when you receive its manifestation is this sacred gestation period. This is the final test and also the most powerful act of faith. The absence of external evidence is not evidence of the absence of a blessing. On my own journey, this is where I stumbled the most. I would do everything right, the vibration, the intention, the belief, the clarity. And then I would sit back, stare at the soil of my life, and ask every hour, where is it? Why hasn't it arrived? My impatience, my need to control the how and the when, constantly dug up and damaged the very seeds I had planted. This continued until I finally learned the art of surrender, the art of trusting the unseen process. In a valley famous for its weaving, there lived a woman named Anya. She was tasked with weaving a great tapestry for the village hall, a tapestry imbued with the intention of an abundant harvest and communal harmony. Her intention was clear, her initial belief was strong. She began the work with joy and excitement, every thread she wove a prayer of gratitude. But the tapestry was immense and the work was meticulous. Weeks passed. Looking at the loom, she could only see a tiny fraction of the whole picture. Looking out the window, she still saw no clear signs of a bumper crop. And then doubt began to creep in. Is this even working, or am I just wasting my time and this precious thread? Her fear turned into forced action. She tried to weave faster, her hands growing tense. She began to recheck every knot, trying to control every detail. And strangely, the threads began to tangle. The knots grew loose. The joy in her work vanished, replaced by anxiety. The tapestry began to reflect her own resistance and tension. One afternoon, a blind old woman who was said to be able to see things the sighted could not came and sat beside her. She said nothing, only gently running her thin fingers over the tapestry. She paused at the section Anya had just woven. Here, she said, the threads are screaming with fear. They are asking when, how. Then she moved her hand to the beginning of the tapestry where Anya had woven with joy. And here, she smiled, they are singing a song of trust. The old woman continued, Anya, you cannot pull the tapestry from the loom any faster. You can only weave each thread with love and trust that the complete picture will emerge in its own right time. Letting go of the how and the when is the ultimate act of faith. It is when you say to the universe, I trust the great weaver who is greater than I. The woman's words liberated Anya. She understood that her job was not to control the outcome, but to enjoy and trust the process. She took a deep breath and relaxed her shoulders. She began to practice the paradox of detachment, wanting without needing. She still deeply desired a beautiful tapestry and an abundant harvest, but she no longer attached her happiness to that outcome. She found wholeness in the act of weaving itself, in the feel of the thread gliding through her fingers, in the beauty of each color. She was already complete whether the tapestry was finished or not, and when the energy of lack and control disappeared, the magic returned. The threads became soft and obedient again. Joy flooded her heart. At the same time, miraculous things began to happen in the village. people felt more inclined to help one another. A much-needed rain arrived at the perfect moment, quenching the fields. The peace and prosperity Anya was weaving had first manifested within her, and only then did it ripple out into the world. Anya's journey teaches us the profound lesson of trust. Trust is not passivity. It is an active inner discipline. Distinguish between inspired action and forced action. Think of Finn the farmer. After planting his seeds, he can act in two ways. Forced action from fear, constantly digging up the soil, to check overwatering for fear of drought, staying up all night to stand guard. Inspired action from trust. One morning, he feels a gentle, natural urge to clear some stones from a corner of the field. The action doesn't come from anxiety, but from a quiet knowing. Listen for those gentle nudges. They are the universe showing you the way. Doubt is not failure. In the waiting period, moments of doubt will certainly arise. It is a natural part of being human. See doubt as a cloud passing across the sky, not as the sky itself. When it arrives, do not fight it. Acknowledge it. There is doubt, and then use it as a reminder to gently choose your belief again. I see you doubt, but today I am choosing to trust. Trust is a muscle-trained daily. Faith isn't an on-off switch. It's a muscle that needs to be exercised. Every time you choose trust over fear, you are making that muscle stronger. The most effective training is through gratitude. When you can genuinely feel gratitude not only for what you have, but for what you have asked for and what is on its way, you are sending the most powerful signal of absolute trust. You are living as if it is already done. Your practice training the muscle of faith. Transform the days of the sacred pause into a holy internship for strengthening your faith. Morning ritual recommit. Don't re-request upon waking. Instead of checking to see if it has arrived, place a hand on your heart and recommit to your trust. Say silently, my request has been heard. Everything is being perfectly arranged for my highest good. I trust in divine timing. This starts your day from a place of fullness, not lack. Dialogue with the clouds of doubt. When a feeling of doubt or impatience arises during the day, pause. Take a deep breath. Acknowledge it kindly. I see you, fear of delay. Thank you for trying to protect me, but right now I am safe. I choose to trust the flow of life. Listen for the whispers of inspiration. Practice stillness. Take a walk, sit quietly, or do something you love with no agenda. In these moments, listen. Is there a gentle nudge to call a friend, read a book, or go somewhere? Distinguish this from the urgency of fear. Inspiration always feels light, expansive, and right. Future-paced gratitude journal. Before you go to sleep, write down 3 things you were grateful for during the day. Then add a 4th, I am so deeply grateful that your request is coming to me with ease and joy. By practicing these things, you are no longer a weary waiter. You become the wise gardener, the patient weaver, the trusting co-creator, tending to your sacred ground while the universe does its part. Chapter 6. The art of receiving. Opening your arms to the universe's gifts. Imagine you are standing by a clear river using a bucket to draw water. Your request is the act of dipping the bucket into the river. But if after dipping it in you turn the bucket upside down, then no matter how generous the river is, your bucket will remain empty. The act of keeping the bucket upright, open and ready, that is the art of receiving. Manifestation is a 2-step dance, asking and receiving. We are often very good at the first step. We desire, we pray, we visualize, but we then unconsciously turn our buckets upside down the moment the universe begins to pour out its blessings. The energy of receiving is not passive waiting. It is an active state of openness, softness, and non-resistance. It is the art of allowing. For years, I was an excellent requester but a terrible receiver. I would ask for peace only to fill my days with worries and a frantic schedule. I would ask for connection only to refuse invitations because I felt not ready. My bucket was constantly being dipped into the river, but it was also constantly being overturned by my own hand. It was only when I learned to keep my bucket upright with gratitude and a sense of worthiness that the river could truly flow into my life. At the end of the town's cobblestone street lived a baker named Leo. He had a warm heart and gifted hands. Leo had sent out a very clear request. I desire an opportunity to bring my warm loaves of bread to every home in town and to live a prosperous life from this passion. In Leo's mind, that opportunity took a very specific form, winning the region's annual baking festival. He poured all his energy, belief, and intention into that single outcome. He believed the golden trophy was the gift the universe would send. On the day of the festival, a mishap occurred. The old latch on his oven door broke, causing his competition loaf to be burnt to a crisp. He failed spectacularly in front of the entire town. Leo was devastated. He believed the universe had rejected his request. He closed his bakery, his heart broken, believing he had been forgotten. He had been clinging too tightly to the form of the gift. A few days later, as he sat in the darkness of his shop, there was a knock on the door. It was the Duchess, the festival's most powerful judge. Leo was mortified, but the Duchess simply smiled. "I'm not here because of your burned loaf," she said. "I'm here because of the heavenly aroma that came from your shop before the accident. That scent doesn't come from someone who wants to win. It comes from someone who loves to bake." She didn't offer him a trophy. She offered him a contract to supply bread daily to her entire estate and to the other noble families. It was an opportunity that was bigger, more stable, and far more prosperous than any one-time prize. Leo was stunned. He realized he had almost refused the greatest gift of his life simply because it wasn't packaged in the box he had expected. His failure was actually the universe clearing the path for a greater success. The Duchess told him something he never forgot. "Leo, the universe doesn't always deliver the way you expect. Sometimes it knocks on the back door instead of the front. Your job is to make sure all the doors of your soul are open." Leo's story shows that the biggest barrier to receiving often lies within us, built by our attachment to a specific outcome. But there are other, more subtle barriers. Consider the story of Clara the librarian. She had asked for a deep love, a soulmate who could understand her book-loving soul. The universe answered. A wise and kind cartographer began to frequent the library, and his interest in Clara was unmistakable. But every time he praised her knowledge, Clara would wave it away. "Oh, it's nothing." Every time he invited her for a walk to discuss a book, she would make an excuse about being busy. The very gift she had asked for was right in front of her, but a deep-seated belief that "I'm not interesting enough to be loved" caused her to unconsciously push it away. She was turning her bucket upside down out of a sense of unworthiness. One day she found a line of verse in an old book. "The flower does not ask if it is worthy of the sun. It simply turns itself to it and receives." That line awakened Clara. She realized she hadn't been turning towards the gift. She had been shrinking from it. The next day, when the cartographer complimented her again, Clara took a breath, looked him in the eye, and said the one word that changed everything: "Thank you." That simple thank you was the bridge. Gratitude is the bridge between asking and receiving. It is a powerful affirmation that says, "Yes, I see it. I acknowledge this gift. I am ready." That evening, Clara didn't sit in her usual self-doubt. She lit a candle and made herself a cup of herbal tea. It was a silent ritual to celebrate her small victory. The act of celebrating, no matter how small, helps to anchor the vibrational frequency of success. It tells the universe, "I liked that feeling. More of this, please." As their relationship blossomed, Clara knew her work wasn't over. She had to integrate this new reality. She couldn't receive love while still holding on to the old story of being a lonely girl. She began to proactively share her opinions, upgrading her self-image. She began to believe her time was valuable, adjusting her habits. She acted in alignment with the person the universe believed she was ready to be. She turned a fleeting miracle into a sustainable reality. Receiving is the final leap in the dance of creation. It requires the courage to believe you are worthy, the wisdom to recognize gifts in unexpected forms, and the joy to celebrate every blessing, big or small. Your practice. Becoming an empty cup practice. The art of receiving every day to transform yourself into a cup that is always open to the river of the universe. Open the channel with micro-gratitude. For the next 24 hours, set a single intention to receive everything. When someone holds a door for you, look them in the eye and say, "Thank you." When you find a good parking spot, whisper, "Thank you." When the sun breaks through the clouds, feel its warmth and say, "Thank you." This exercise trains your nervous system to shift from a state of ignoring to a state of acknowledging, widening your channel for receiving. Find the gift in failure. Think of a recent failure or disappointment. Sit down with a journal and write out the answer to this question. What was the hidden gift in this experience? What lesson was the universe trying to teach me? Like Leo, practice seeing closed doors as a redirection to a better one. Design a personal celebration ritual. Create a simple personal ritual to celebrate any positive manifestation. It could be playing a victory song and dancing for 1 minute, lighting a candle and having a moment of silence, treating yourself to a small favorite snack. When you receive a compliment, good news, or see a positive sign, perform this ritual immediately to anchor that joyful energy. Integrate the new reality. When one of your desires begins to manifest, take time to journal on these questions. How does the new version of me who is living this reality think and feel? What old story about myself do I need to release to be fully aligned with this gift? What new habit will help me nurture and grow this reality? By practicing these things, you become not only a powerful requester, but also a graceful receiver. You complete the sacred cycle and declare to the universe with your entire being, "I am ready. My bucket is upright. Fill me." Chapter 7. The Dance with Obstacles, when the detour is the shortcut to mastery. Have you ever watched an archer? For an arrow to fly far and powerfully forward, it must first be drawn backward on the bowstring. The further it is pulled back, the more powerful its forward thrust. Your journey of manifestation is just like that. There will be times when you feel you are being pulled backward. Plans fall apart, unexpected delays occur, waves of doubt wash over you. Our natural reaction is to panic, to think we've done something wrong, that the universe has abandoned us. But the wise archer understands that this backward pull is not a regression. It is the accumulation of energy. It is the preparation for a great launch. Obstacles are not walls that block your path. They are teachers' guides sent by the universe. They are invitations for you to align more deeply with your desire. The path to what you long for is not always a straight line. Sometimes the detours are the shortcuts to wisdom and to an outcome even more brilliant than you had imagined. In a mighty port city, there was a renowned sea captain named Valerius. He had a grand ambition to open a new sea route to the Southern Isles, a path no one had ever taken, promising to bring prosperity to his homeland. He had done everything according to the law. His intention was clear. His belief was rock solid. His ship, the Stardust, was the finest ever built. He had asked, he had believed, and he had set sail with a heart full of certainty. But halfway through the journey, a horrific storm, a fury of the sea unrecorded on any chart, descended upon them. The ship was heavily damaged. The main mast snapped in two. Valerius and his crew fought bravely to keep the ship from sinking, but they were forced to turn back. They returned to port in silence and a humiliating sense of failure. This obstacle seemed to be a final, definitive stop. The great captain had been rejected by the sea. He had been pulled all the way back to the starting line. In his despair, Valerius sat alone in a portside tavern. An old, one-eyed sailor who had weathered countless storms of both the sea and of life came and sat with him. He offered no condolences. He simply asked one question: "What did the storm say to you?" Valerius answered bitterly, "It said that I am a fool." The old sailor shook his head. "No, that is what you tell yourself. Listen again. The storm is not a rejection. It is a test reserved for those the sea wishes to temper. It exposed the weakness in your mast that no on-land inspection ever could. It showed you an undercurrent that only its power could reveal. Obstacles are not failures, they are information." The old sailor's words were like a lightning strike. Valerius realized he had been too quick to interpret the obstacle as a refusal. He began to learn how to translate its language. This delay was not a rejection, but a preparation. The universe was giving him the chance to make his ship even more perfect, ready for the true challenges ahead. The wave of fear that washed over him was not a sign to give up, but a reminder to check his faith. Was his faith in the physical ship or in the unshakable vision of the new route? The external challenge, the storm, was a catalyst, a breakthrough in disguise, forcing him to become wiser and stronger. Valerius no longer saw himself as a failure. He saw himself as a student who had just graduated from a harsh masterclass. He spent the winter recalibrating. He didn't just repair the ship. He redesigned it based on what the storm had taught him. He redrew his sea charts, taking advantage of the hidden current he had discovered. When the Stardust once again set sail, Valerius was no longer a captain with mere belief. He was a captain with belief and wisdom forged in trial. The backward pull of the bow was over, and he was launched forward more powerful than ever. Valerius's journey teaches us that strength lies not in never encountering storms, but in the ability to dance with them. Alignment isn't perfection, it is the ability to constantly return to center. The height of mastery is holding the vibration without evidence. Sometimes an obstacle isn't as loud as a storm. It is silence. It is when you feel you have done everything right, yet the physical world shows no sign of movement. This is the final, most subtle test of faith. Think of Isolde, a painter. She had a vision for a painting that could heal the hearts of its viewers. She had belief, talent, and clarity. But day after day, the painting on her easel remained flat and lifeless. There was no storm to blame, only the silence of an unmanifested result. This is when she had to remember the core truth. The universe doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to who you are. Instead of trying to do something to make the painting vibrant, she had to become that vibrancy. She had to hold the frequency of a master painter who had already completed her masterpiece even when the canvas before her was still blank. She had to trust the painting in her soul more than the painting on her easel. And when she could hold that vibration long enough, her hands would know what to do. The physical world would have no choice but to catch up and mirror the certainty within her. You are never lost, for all paths are part of the journey. Let go of the fear that you might mess this up. Manifestation is not a test you can pass or fail. It is a dialogue, a dance of co-creation. Even when you feel you've gone off course, even when you stumble, it is just part of the journey. The universe never stops listening. A mistake is simply the universe saying, "Why not try this way?" There's something interesting on this detour I want to show you. Your job is not to avoid obstacles. Your job is to learn to dance with them, to listen to their messages, and to trust that every step forward or backward is bringing you closer to the person you were born to be. Your practice, becoming the alchemist of obstacles. When faced with a challenge, do not see yourself as a victim. See yourself as an alchemist capable of turning the lead of hardship into the gold of wisdom. Stop and observe without judgment. When an obstacle appears, resist the urge to react immediately. Take a deep breath. Instead of asking, "Why me?" ask with curiosity, "Hello, who are you?" What do you look like? Describe the obstacle as a scientist would observe a strange phenomenon without attaching a negative meaning to it. Become the message. Translator, take your journal and write down the answers to these questions to translate the obstacle's language. If this obstacle is a preparation, what is it preparing me to be stronger, more patient, more creative in? If this emotional wave, fear, anger, doubt, is a reminder what core belief is, it reminding me to return to and strengthen. If this obstacle is a catalyst, what old habit, relationship, or way of thinking is it forcing me to release, to make way for the new? The quick recalibration ritual. This is an exercise you can do anywhere, anytime you feel overwhelmed by a challenge. Acknowledge, place a hand on your heart, and say silently, I am feeling resistance. Get curious. Ask gently, what is the lesson here? What good is trying to emerge through this anchor? Think of one thing you are absolutely grateful for in this exact moment. Hold that feeling of gratitude for 30 seconds. Gratitude is the most powerful recalibrating frequency, bringing you instantly back to center. The dancer's oath. Make this your affirmation each morning or whenever you feel lost. I trust the dance of life. I welcome both the forward steps and the backward sways, for I know it is all part of the journey. I cannot go the wrong way. I can only learn and grow. I am in dialogue with the universe, and I choose to trust my dance partner. Tuyệt vời, đây là chương cuối cùng chương của sự tốt nghiệp. Nó mang một sự thật cao hơn hợp nhất tất cả những chương trước đó, lại thành một chân lý duy nhất. Khi dịch tôi sẽ dùng một văn phong vừa mang tính tổng kết, vừa mang tính khai mở, để lại cho người đọc một cảm giác trọn vẹn được trao quyền và một sự thấu suốt sâu sắc thay vì chỉ là một danh sách các việc cần làm. Dưới đây là bản dịch cho lời kết. Epilogue, the greatest conversation when you are the answer. We have walked a long road together. We have learned to listen to vibration, to navigate with intention, to build a foundation of belief. We have learned the art of a clear request, to walk through the sacred pause with faith, to open our arms to receive, and even to dance with obstacles. You have learned the rules, the techniques, the steps of a sacred dance between you and the universe. But now, in this final chapter, I want to reveal a truth to you, a truth that might just change everything. This entire journey from beginning to end has been built upon a beautiful illusion, the illusion of separation. We began with the idea that you are here and the universe is out there, a great and mighty force that you must learn to communicate with, persuade, and listen to. But that was only the finger pointing at the moon. It is time to stop looking at the finger. It is time to look up at the brilliant, radiant moon of truth. You are not conversing with the universe. You are the universe conversing with itself. The separation never existed. You are not a single drop of water trying to merge with the ocean. You are the entire ocean experiencing itself in the form of a single drop. The creative energy you have been seeking outside is in fact the very essence of who you are. The greatest conversation is not between you and a distant God. It is the inner dialogue between your conscious self and the vast totality of which you are an inseparable part. Think of the story of the young sculptor. He spends years learning techniques from his master. He learns how to hold a chisel, how to measure, how to follow the golden ratios to sculpt a lion. He works diligently, obeying every rule, but his statues, while technically perfect, are always missing their spirit, their life force. One day, his master comes to him and says, "You have learned enough techniques. Now throw them all away. Stop trying to sculpt a lion. Close your eyes. Feel the lion roaring inside of you. Feel its power, its majesty, its freedom. Become the lion and then simply set it free from the stone." The previous chapters were those techniques, the affirmations, the visualizations, the gratitude. They are the chisels, the necessary tools for you to begin, but now it is time for you to transcend technique and step into embodiment. Don't just repeat an affirmation of peace. Become the embodiment of peace, so much so that your very presence calms others. Don't just visualize abundance. Live, breathe, and give from a place of abundance that is already within you. True power lies not in doing more, but in being more aligned. When you grasp this understanding, you realize something even more profound. The ultimate goal is not to get, but to remember. This journey was never really about getting a bigger house, a more beautiful love, or a better job. Those were just the prompts, the exercises your soul set up to urge you along the path back to yourself. The true purpose of all of this was for you to shatter the illusion of your own powerlessness, for you to remember that you are already whole, powerful, and divine. You are not a beggar asking for crumbs from the universe's banquet table. You are the banquet. And that is when you graduate. You are no longer a student of manifestation. You are an artist of reality. You no longer try to follow the laws. You realize that your every thought, every feeling, every belief is the law in operation. You have shifted from being a student of frequency to being the master of your own frequency, and an invitation for the path ahead, shifting from pursuit to expression. So what does the path forward look like for you? It is no longer a chase. It is an expression. It is no longer a search. It is a shining. You no longer need to try to trust, because you have touched the unwavering truth within yourself. You no longer need to repeat your requests, because you are living in a constant state of declaration of who you are. Your voice, your presence is reality being spoken into existence. Instead of another practice, I leave you with an invitation, a new compass for the journey ahead. Ask to embody, not to get each morning. Instead of asking, how do I get X? Ask, how would the version of me who already has X think, feel, and act right now? And then go live that answer. Listen for expansion. Your new compass is your body. When making a choice, ask yourself, does this feel expansive and light? If it does, that is your truth. If it feels contracting and heavy, that is a signal to pause and listen more deeply. Live with an expressive intention. Begin each day with a simple intention. Today, I choose to express the love, creativity, wisdom, joy that is already within me out into this world. This book is about to close, but your greatest conversation has only just truly begun. Not a conversation with me or with any other force, but the conversation of the universe whispering to itself through your own beautiful lips and heart. Go and express who you truly are. The world is waiting.